Travis Scott, one of the biggest artists of the 2010s and one of rap's most prominent figures. The Houston-born 9-time Grammy nominee, an artist with just over 45 million monthly Spotify listeners, has co-signs and features from the likes of Kid Cudi, Drake, Kanye West, and many other rap titans, making him one of the biggest marks of success in the industry. Outside of music, his Cactus Jack sneaker collabs, other fashion releases, and his very own McDonald's meal made his fans and resellers turn into rabid animals. Looking to turn his critical acclaim and success into a potential dynasty, Travis founded the Cactus Jack label in 2017. The label has 4 artists including its founder Travis Scott, but I want to start with its very first signee, Smoke Perp, who, spoiler alert, is not one of these 4. Smoke Perp was born in Chicago on May 15th, 1997, but grew up in Miami, Florida. He got his start in music by doing some production and holds some responsibility in Lil Pump starting his rap career. In 2017, he signed with Alamo and Interscope Records, and shortly after, his song Audi blew up after receiving over 25 million plays on SoundCloud and 122 million on Spotify. Smoke Perp dropped his debut mixtape Dead Star on September 28th, 2017, and landed at 42 on the Billboard 200. It was right around this time that he announced that he would be joining Cactus Jack.
I hit him, I'm like, yo, I really fuck with your shit. And then, he told me like it was like the same thing, like she really fucked with my shit, and then we just linked from there. We were just cool from there on.
Are you the first artist on his imprint?
I think so. I don't want to say I'm 100% sure, but I told him, I'm like, bro, I want to end up in Cactus Jack, bro. That shit crazy.
Smoke Perp's time with Cactus Jack was pretty brief. While he was on the label, his releases were through Alamo and Interscope, and even his departure went under the radar. He left the label in 2019 with a notable absence from the label's first project. In terms of how he's doing now, let's just say J. Cole seems more and more correct every day. But hey, at least he has nearly 2 million monthly Spotify listeners, right? And there's also one more person I want to bring up who's been associated with this label. Malu Trevejo, who is a former Musical.ly star turned Instagram influencer with over 10 million followers, and actually started her music career at 14 when she signed with Universal Music Latin. She dropped her first song, Luna Llena, on September 22nd, 2017, and its music video currently sits at 126 million views on YouTube, and it honestly isn't bad for a debut single. In October 2021, she took to Instagram to announce her Cactus Jack signing, accompanied by a picture of her and Travis Scott, saying that her dreams came true. As any young artist would be, she was extremely happy, and this signing blossomed tremendously. I'm kidding, of course. This became extremely messy. The following month after announcing her signing, Malu took to her Instagram stories to discuss some issues brewing between her and Travis about her contract, mentioning that she had no reason to even lie about being signed in response to the many accusations that it wasn't even real, and also arguing that she has better things in her future anyway. She was on the label for a whopping 3 weeks before getting dropped. Now, we can move on to Cactus Jack's core membership, starting with Sheck West. Sheck West is Cactus Jack's longest tenured signee behind its founder. He grew up in Harlem and started his music career at the age of 11 as an escape from what was not the greatest environment to grow up in. He's also had some interest in fashion and did a fair share of modeling while coming up, notably attending the Yeezy Season 3 showcase at Madison Square Garden.
I mean, when I was modeling and stuff, I did, go to a Yeezy Season 3 show instead of my playoff game.
And what made you kind of make that decision to go to that Yeezy show? Was it just like, get the money or, the opportunity of doing that over the playoff game?
It was really like, if we would have made it to the championship, we would have played in Madison Square Garden, But if I would have just went to season 3, I would have been.
You was going to
Madison Square
Garden. Yeah.
You feel me? So it was just like, you could just skip on it, now.
Yeah.
Or you could just, and.
I'm sure that's also like a once-in-a-lifetime type of opportunity.
For sure,
right?
Exactly.
If you haven't been living under a rock since 2018, you already know about his insane blow-up with Mo Bamba. Nothing really compared to hearing the first notes of that beat start up at a party. The song is now 5 times platinum and peaked at number 6 on the Billboard 100. In addition to Cactus Jack, he also signed to Kanye West, now defunct Good Music, and Interscope Records. He's been pretty quiet since 2018 in terms of the attention his music has gotten, but I do remember seeing him declare for the 2020 NBA draft, where he ultimately remained undrafted. He also had a stint playing for the Paris basketball team, where he played 4 minutes in his debut. He currently has just over 5 million monthly Spotify listeners. Don Toliver, aka Donnie Womack, aka The Don, Cactus Jack's second most successful artist. Personally, I'm a big fan of his and listen to Heaven or Hell pretty much every day after it came out in 2020. Caleb Tolliver was born on June 12, 1994 in Houston, Texas, and is the son of a rapper. He actually didn't start making music until 2017 when he dropped his first mixtape, Playa Familia, which makes his blow up even crazier to look at. He ended up being signed to Atlantic Records and in March of that year, dropped his debut mixtape, Donnie Womack, and it's a pretty good listen. Astroworld was one of the biggest albums of the 2010s, loaded with hidden features, beats that were just simply ethereal, and a level of quality that will always be amazing. I even have it on vinyl because of how much I love it. So when people heard Can't Say for the first time, and heard Don Toliver's vocals for the first time, they just needed to know who he was.
That was it for me. Like, me coming from Houston, period, and then just, I was already, fan of Travis Scott coming up. He was one of the biggest influences too, along with Dom. So,
like, if nothing else had worked out, you would have been like, yo, we got called out to Hawaii to work with Travis.
Simple. He actually heard my music. You know what I'm saying? I was actually there, in the mix with him. Like, that right there was enough. So when I got on the album, oh my God.
What was that day like, the day Astroworld dropped?
God, man, it was heaven on earth.
It was announced that he was signed to Cactus Jack a few days after the album's release on August 6th, 2018. Since then, things have only gone up for Don Toliver. He ruled TikTok in late 2019 with his song No Idea, and this platinum single is one of my biggest sources of nostalgia today. He's had 2 major album releases as a member of Cactus Jack, with the previously mentioned Heaven or Hell and Life of a Don in 2021. He's been featured on albums from the likes of Eminem, Pusha T, and Baby Keem. Don Toliver currently has about 23 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Finally, we have Sofago, Cactus Jack's most recent addition, and the member who inspired this video the most. Andre Burt Jr., aka Sofago, was born on October 3rd, 2001 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He also spent some time living in Atlanta, Georgia, and moved around a lot throughout his youth. Similarly to Sheck West, he started making music at a young age, making his first song at 9 in the 4th grade alongside his cousin.
I've always been doing music, I've always involved myself in music since I was a child. 4th grade, chorus, you feel what I'm saying? I just wanted to learn how to sing. I tell this story all the time, but I remember my cousin, we had this house, he took me in the basement and was just like, yo, you wanna make a song? And I was just like, hell yeah, let's do that shit. And I did it, and ever since then, I fell in love with music.
He started taking music more seriously in high school and really blew up thanks to his song Knock Knock, going viral on TikTok in 2021. He was signed to the Cactus Jack label in February of that same year and was an XXL freshman for the class of 2022 this past June. Sofago currently has around 4.5 million monthly Spotify listeners. Travis Scott does have an eye for talent. From the outside looking in, Cactus Jack seems like it would be a very solid label. As we've been able to see, all of its members have shown the ability to be hitmakers and most likely gained the notoriety to be offered a place on the label because of it. However, the label does have its fair share of issues. As with basically 95% of celebrities, the members of Cactus Jack have their fair share of controversies. For the most part, these revolve around the performances of each artist. For starters, Sofago's recent album release, Pink Hearts. Seeing that a big part of his success came from his TikTok blog, some have written him off as a TikTok rapper. He's also a big offender of one of my biggest pet peeves in the music industry, the mysterious artist. The one who barely posts anything on social media until it's time to do album promo, if there even is any. Pink Hearts is an album that's already been delayed a few times, and that, mixed with a lack of promo, caused a lot of people to forget about it. Even I was surprised when it came out. When there are delays, there are also heightened expectations, and ultimately many were very underwhelmed. The man's been getting cooked on Twitter. Things have gotten so bad we've reached a point where fans wish that 1, Sofago never signed with Cactus Jack in the first place, and 2, he signed with Playboi Carti's Opium instead, where his artists like Ken Carson and Destroy Lonely have only been given the keys to success. And the issue's especially bad when people have mocked up pictures like this. Clearly the negative response has been getting to him because of the following posts on his private Instagram stories, the screenshot from a group chat with him and fans, and banning fans from his Discord server. It's really tough to watch considering he's the youngest on the label and struggling so much already. The project wasn't bad, but it was also just average. And then we can also look at Don Toliver. Despite being the label's second most successful artist, he did take a little bit of heat lately for the release of his most recent music video for the song Do It Right. A lot of viewers noted that the comments section looked like a cesspool of bots and assumed that Atlantic Records was behind it to artificially boost the video's traction. I don't really think this was the case because YouTube has had a bot problem for years now. But maybe the video did get juiced up a little bit, we'll never know for sure. Sheck West fighting irrelevancy has been an uphill battle for him since Mo Bamba, and I can't bash him on this. Time and time again, we've been able to see how hard it is to consistently build your catalog after having a smash hit. He dropped a single recently titled Pain, and I liked it. However, it's the usual Sheck West sound, so his issue could simply be a lack of experimentation. Most already know about the biggest failure in Travis Scott's career, Astroworld Festival 2021. I don't want to rehash what happened during the incident, but I do recommend these videos by Traplore Ross and Patrick CC that go in depth about how and why it happened. I'd like to send my condolences to everyone who was affected by the tragedy, and it simply shouldn't have happened. Travis Scott took some time out to step out of the public eye, especially after what I will generously call a lackluster apology. Around April 2022, we started hearing and seeing Travis in the public eye again, through features and some private performances, with some here and there in smaller venues. Most recently, he's had a couple of features on Metro Boomin's Heroes and Villains, and SZA's sophomore album SOS, seeming to be gearing up for the album rollout of Utopia. Cactus Jack has a problem, and for a label that's been around for 5 years at this point, it's a bit concerning. As one of the biggest names in the rap game, Travis Scott seems like he would be able to organize a good collective. You look at his discography, and you're able to see that he has a sense of what can be great, sonically and conceptually. Cactus Jack has been severely underwhelming as a whole, and honestly lacks focus. I like the artists on the label. As I mentioned before, all of them have proven themselves to be hitmakers. I remember listening to the Jack Boys project a lot when it first came out, excited to see what was next for the label as a whole, and since then it's just been silence. At this point, it's hard for Cactus Jack to not feel like, and look like, some kind of failed experiment. They're in dire need of new talent, better management, new strategy, or simply all three. Obviously, we aren't clued into everything going on behind the scenes, but maybe they do have some things that are in development. But honestly, only time can really tell.